Hey everyone, welcome to another incredible edition of Real Advice with none other than the Miss Katie Day from at Movies of Texas and little old me, Stephen Kim at Stephen Kim Homes. Today we have a mega rock star. He's a rock star husband and dad who is making it his mission to change the way we real estate in this world through his wealth of experience and knowledge in both buying, selling, building, and investing, all the while building his massive online and social media presence through the use of video and digital marketing. His knowledge and expertise has been showcased on not only his incredible social media platforms such as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, but on some other powerhouse platforms such as Curator and Dippity, to name a few. Please help me in welcoming the Mr. Brad McCallum.
Oh, that was me.
Was it better the second time?
This guest sounds amazing.
Steve, you forgot to say he's the best hair in real estate.
Oh, absolutely. Bar none.
It's popping today, guys.
Look at it.
Popping today. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for having me on.
We are so glad you're here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm pretty smitten. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm a fan. I am a fan. So we know how crazy busy you are, Brad. I think you've shared with us that this has been an absolutely explosive year for you in your business. And so we're just really happy for you to kind of share some of your tips, your tricks, your knowledge, and your experience. So let's just fire away with our questions. So Katie, number one, here we go.
I'll start. The first question I had was, how much of your GCI per year do you spend on hair product?
I would say, do you include the hair stylists, the blow dryer?
Yeah, everything that goes into it.
Yeah. Like we have a professional blow dryer on staff that we just, it's just easier than bringing someone in.
Yeah.
Honestly. It's one of those weird things where I'd not ever thought of it. And I don't know if my friends just never mentioned it. And then all of a sudden you start putting yourself out there on camera and you get comments on YouTube and you make friends across North America who find it really funny to laugh at your hair. And so I still don't know if people are serious or completely like, is Brad in on the joke or what? But it's just to distract from the rest of the face. That's really the key to the hair there. Yeah. Plus,
I'm the opposite, Brad.
Yeah. You're trying to highlight the face.
I'm distracting this by highlighting this.
I love that. I love it. I would do the same if I had that smile. My goodness, Steve.
All right. Well, let's hop into real estate. Sorry for the distraction. So walk us through your journey in how you got into real estate, how you got into residential sales, and how you got to kind of where you are today.
Sure. So the long and short of it was I basically had a background in housing. I was doing renovation and design work. And so even when I was doing renovations, the thing that I did different than all the other contractors is that I would do like the renderings, the 3D renderings that you would see on like HGTV, right? When they're like, oh, this is what your kitchen can look like. So I would do that. So I learned like the software and learned how to do the lighting. And that's where I get all my kind of work from it. And then I quickly realized that was the only part of housing that I really enjoyed was the design and working with the clients. Maybe like when they found a house, going out with them and their realtor, and the realtor would open the door and I'd walk through and then I would sell them the house because I was like, wow, this one's got potential. This wall's not load bearing. You can pull that out and we could do some cool stuff here. And this is great with those exposed beams. And so I kind of fell in love with that part of the process. And then I hated once I made a sale and then had to actually bring in all the trades and manage the project for 4 or 5 months. So getting into real estate felt like doing everything I did with my first job, but just getting paid once they signed up. So I was like, okay, this is great. I made the transition I actually turned 43 years of age today. So I signed up at about 39 years old. So I'm just about 3.5 to 4 years into my real estate journey. But when I got my license, I was still running my construction business for 2 years. And then I spent the last 2 years doing like actually kind of finally going full time. And so I made the transition. I got into real estate, and I realized really quickly I just needed some way to get people's attention. And I was very uncomfortable with talking to my sphere of influence, extremely uncomfortable with like bringing up real estate in a conversation. I wanted it to happen organically, and if I knew someone was going to make a move, I never wanted to be in such financial distress that like if I didn't weasel my way into the conversation, it was going to affect my family. So I thought, okay, always stay really safe in the financial department, so that way I don't have to get desperate for my next listing.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit how it kind of got started. And then I think from there, now we are I'm in Calgary, Alberta. I built my business for a really slow market. So Calgary is the opposite of rest of Canada and North America. It's been very, very slow for the last 4 or 5 years. So I built my business on the premise that if 10 homes come to market, only 4 are going to sell. And so if I'm one of those 10 homes, I've got to be one of the homes that sell. So how do I increase my odds from 40% to 70 or 80%? Well, make that home look desirable, make it look amazing, make it look special and different, and get people to care about it. And I thought, well, what do I care about? I care about stories. Tell me a great story. It'll move me to action. You add some music to it, add some movement, add some pausing, add some great dialogue. We haven't figured that part out yet, but you put all that stuff together, and all of a sudden you care about it, right? And the more, what we've found now is that the more we dive deeper into sort of including our personal brand in the listing tours, the more people sign up just for us. Just for us, they're like, hey, we love you, we watch your videos, we love your family, and then now it's turned into this massive business where I would say in 2021, out of 5,000 realtors, if we aren't in the top 5 or 6, then there's some agents in the city that are just crushing it because we're having an epic year, and it's all directly related to our video marketing.
So talking about video marketing, we're all realtors here. We always talk about different lead channels, lead funnels. Would you say that your video is number one and that it's the only one that you and the team focus in on? Or are there, there's kind of going back old school, database touch points, drop-bys, the quarterly phone calls, the CMAs, do you and the team still operate like that, or is it still 100% just video straight, nothing else?
Yeah, we are nothing else. We're not great at anything else. Last year, I think I hit my database of 15 or 1,600 emails, maybe twice.
Okay.
And I don't do paid advertising or lead gen whatsoever.
Wow.
And honestly, in the beginning, it's because I really didn't understand it. Right. And I also thought in the beginning, I thought, wow, sell 20 homes in a year and you're making a great living for your family. That's awesome. But when you start building your brand and I didn't realize that the path I was on wasn't just leading me to my goal of 30 homes a year. Or, I didn't realize that what it was doing was actually going like this, that it was actually, hockey sticking its way up into the stratosphere, where I would literally not have the time to even follow up with 7-figure listing presentations. We're at that point. And so we're at a crossroads where we have to decide, do we want to do the Sirhan, media group style business where, myself and my family were the face of it, and we have a bunch of agents that work the actual deals? Do we want to slow down, really consolidate our gains where we're at right now, work with just the lowest hanging fruit on the tree, and let some fruit die on the vine? That's where we're at right now. And so there's a lot of stuff I don't understand about the real estate industry or business, and it's why when it comes to almost every metric of what people measure success, I'm a failure until you add the fact that we just flipped the script. We built a business on attraction, and that's it. And everyone told us they couldn't be done. One of my favorite mentors, favorite people of all time, Sharon Srivatsa. Do you guys know Sharon at all? He's awesome guy, awesome guy. Sharon told me very early on, a couple of years back, he said, Brad, you don't want to be known as just the video guy. You want to be known as the guy who does sales. The only difference is that I was getting feedback. Like I was getting direct feedback in the analytics, in the engagement, in the comments, in the messages. And I've figured out in my life, in my 43 years, that if you can make something happen once, you can make it happen twice, and you can make it happen 20 times, and you can make it 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. And so the bottom line is that the first time someone says, hey, I saw your video, I'd like you to come look at my house, be excited to see what you guys could do with it. You know that that's a call. You've just built a business now that you just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. You're going to get those calls are just going to come in multiples.
So piggybacking off that a little bit, because I think that a lot of people in real estate do something once, it doesn't work, and then they never do it again, right? So like open houses, they'll do one open house, no one comes. They'll do one direct mail piece where they send it to 5 homes, 500 homes, whatever. No one responds, so they never do it again. And like we all know that whatever you do, whether it's open houses, whether it's door knocking, whether it's cold calling, whether it's calling your sphere, like it has to be done consistently, video included. Yes. So I think that people look at your videos and see the high level of content that you guys are putting out. They're like, holy moly, I could never do that. 1, and 2, like, how does he make all of these videos? So my question to you is, obviously you made a video, you made it or 2, and, probably didn't see an immediate, hey, I want you to list my home. Right. So like, what kept you going with that? And what advice would you give to someone that's getting into higher quality video or getting into property tours and things like that to continue doing it? What would be your advice?
Okay. Well, so this is at the risk of sounding arrogant, which is about like, that's as bad as it gets for a Canadian.
Oh, geez.
I'm going to tell you that outside of Calgary, people watch our videos and say, I don't know, like I could never do that. Although I could never do that a few years ago either. We just kept doing it until we could. People outside of our market are like, I don't know if I can. So they give up on making channels on listing videos and doing listing tours for their homes, especially when the homes are selling so quickly. However, in my market, my agents in my city, my competition are watching what we're doing, and they are going all in on trying to do listing tours as well, because they see us going into essentially these, like, it's like there's parts of Calgary that are like battleground states. It's like, this is that group, this is that agent, this is that agent's turf, and you don't mess there. And we just keep going in and getting these listings that have been on the market for 6 months with 4 or 5 showings and selling them in a week to 3 weeks with a video and no price adjustment. Only difference was the agent on file. And we're having that kind of success, and the hair. But it's honestly the agents that are in competition with us, direct competition for business, they've figured it out. They figured out what the rest of North America needs to figure out, that it's like, this is attainable. You need to do it. Your client's going to want, and you can either be the Sirhant or the Ennis or the Brad or whatever in your market, or you can watch someone else do that and start taking away from that. And all those numbers that should work, your database, those clients that should call you, the referral, because, you've kept in touch with them since you did the deal with them 4 years ago. Those guys are going where they find the most value for themselves. And wherever they find the most value, that's where they'll go. For us, people are looking at us and saying, hey, you know what? I've got a small custom home building company. I build 8 or 9 homes a year. I want the world to know about these homes. So, now they're just getting great video content from us. They're also getting us spreading their message. They're tapping into our audience of nearly 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. They are getting extra access. And if you don't believe it, like I got my GED like 4 years ago. I just got my high school equivalency like 4 years ago. I should not have had any of the success I've had, except I just kept doing the same thing over and over again with video. But my point is, I just released a video where in the video, we're featuring an artist's house. And in that house, I say, oh, this home is owned by Marie Manon, local celebrated artist. Here's her Instagram profile, and I do it. And then I just go on with the tour, and it just plays. I don't even say it's her Instagram profile. I just mention her name in it. And then I put in the edit a screen share of an iPhone, like just scrolling through her Instagram account. Within the first 24 hours, someone on my YouTube channel watched the video, went and searched out her name. So they would have had to press pause on the video, found her Instagram account, went to her website, and spent $1,000 on a painting.
Wow.
So when we hear the words like influencer marketing, right, that's like the unintended benefits and consequences of becoming someone who has a following and an audience and creating this kind of content. It's not just the video for the client. It's not just that, because another company can come and create another video for them, right, and feature another agent. It's also about creating a bit of your on-camera persona. It's a bit about sharing yourself, feeling accessible. A big part of my message is, look, I don't even have a full set of teeth. I drive a $7,500 Volvo 2009 XC90. Like, everything about who you think a luxury agent should be is false. Everything you've been taught, how you should dress, how you should look, what car you should drive, how much you spend on your suits, all that stuff is complete garbage, because all of that is us thinking what a luxury agent should be. And the only thing that people care about is what's in it for them.
Yep.
That's all anyone cares about, what's in it for them. And so your clients, I will take them from you, because what's in it for them is they're going to get an awesome memory of their home. They're going to get their home looking like it's better than all the other competition in the area. And if you're telling yourself, well, listen, Brad, the homes sell so quickly right now, what's the benefit of it? You're losing the big picture, all the peripheral benefits of being known as the person that's investing in marketing, that's bringing some excitement to the industry, that's changing things up.
Isn't it wild though, like having that level of like intuition even years ago to where we are now? Like it still almost frustrates me, and very few things frustrate me, but it's just because I care about this industry so much. Like I equate that to like someone taking pictures of $1 million property with a cell phone, because in this market there are 300%, and there are 1 million buyers looking for those homes. Like it's just the lack of effort. When I look at your type of, like everything that you do, not only are you just like incredible at what you do, but it just shows the level of care that you put into every single aspect of a video. And if I see that in a video, then that is only going, my impression is just going to, it filter to every other thing that you're going to do for me in the listing and selling process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One point on that, Steve, is what do we believe if someone tells us they, hey, I really like you, Steve, really respect you, right? You're like, that's nice. That's great. But when someone shows you that, when people show it to you, when you can show someone that you care, because every agent will say, I care about my clients. Why should you choose me? Because I really care about my clients, right?
Yeah.
Right. But the difference is if you can show that to them, that goes to such a different level. And there's many ways. Video is not the only way. I'm not suggesting that, but it is one way that it's like, wait, they do the math. You don't have to. You don't have to explain it for them. They're just like, no one else did this. No one else showed up with a video crew. No one else spent 30, 40 hours putting together marketing for my $2 million house. Like the calls that I get are from people that say, I just want someone to care about selling my home. And that's not the guy with the $300,000 home in my market. That's a guy with a $2 million, $2.5 million home. And what agents don't realize, and what a lot of agents make the mistake of, is when you do get an opportunity to sell one of these amazing homes, or a home that's been freshly renovated in a great community, whatever the price point is, like when it's that target property that people are just kind of dying for, oh, great, you sold it in an hour. You've lost all value of getting that listing other than that commission check. It's ridiculous to me. I can take one listing. I'm getting a listing coming up for $4.6 million from a buyer who bought a home that I'm selling for $3.5 million unrepresented over TikTok just 3 weeks ago. Over TikTok. It hit the market 3 days later. We'd already had 3 showings. And now this is a very connected individual in our city, very, very connected, has assured already my wife and I, like when we went over the home inspection report, it was over sake and sushi, like at their home in Bel Air. And so they've got this great home. It's beautiful. It's stunning. It's $4.5 million. It's like elite status in our city.
Yeah.
An opportunity to list a property like that, you can, if you leverage it right, if you let everyone know about it, if you shout it from the mountaintop, you can make a career out of just a few listings. Like, and yet a lot of these agents, as soon as it's gone, it's off their books. There's no more marketing for it. There's no residuals for it. None of that stuff. And I always tell the story, like the way I got into, doing my first sort of luxury video or being thought of as a luxury agent is my very first 7-figure property was a video tour of a $6.5 million home for a local builder who was represented by another agent. And I just called the agent and I said, hey, there's no video on it. Why don't I go and shoot a video on it? You be in it and I'll just walk around with you. And then you can, I'll put you on a stage, right? And put you, and he's just like, nah, no thanks. He's like, I'll check out the builder. And the builder's like, nah, I don't want to be on stage. And so my wife and I walked around the house, and that video, which is now over 2 years old, still gets watched 150 times a day for an average of 3 minutes. That's 450 minutes a day. That's 7 hours of coverage that video is still out door knocking and cold calling in my behalf, plus every video since. So now every minute that passes, we get 14 minutes of watch time. So when you think about that, that's 24 hours a day. That's 2 weeks of cold calling and door knocking and advertising and relationships you're building with people long before you ever. It's the sphere of influence at scale. That's the real benefit.
That's a great way to put it. Sphere of influence at scale. I think that's tremendous. So, Brad, this is going to be a tough question to answer, but we're going to ask it anyways. Is there that one defining video, whether it's one that you're just so proud of, or you're just so like almost like cringeworthy, that sticks out in your mind? Like, and why? Like, what's that one quintessential Brad McCallum video that you can't shake it? You'll always remember it.
Yeah, I would say, we've had a few really great ones. Like I've had some awesome ones with my wife and I and my kids where they did the tour, which was really fun. And we brought on ballerinas and we hired a local jazz singer to record a 60s standard. And we filmed her dancing and singing through the house. Like we've done some fun stuff. But there is one video that stands out. It's called The Imagined Farmhouse. Okay. And it was an older man. He was early 70s, selling his home. He had been a lifelong builder, built incredible homes with one of the most respected companies in town. He was one of the founders of it. He was now ready to kind of slow it down. And he had built a home 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes outside of the city, sort of in the foothills of the Canadian Rockies. Just an absolutely picturesque setting on like 30 or 40 acres of land. And he was this British gentleman, had just a beautiful voice and a beautiful story. And when I saw his house, it was so eclectic. It was like, there was hardwood floors, but I knew there was a story behind them. And there was like stained glass on the windows, and I knew there was a story behind them. And I knew the kitchen was just different. It looked like an old English farmhouse. And so I realized that busy agents, to no fault of their own, even though the public thinks it's an issue, is, we, especially in hot markets, we're jumping from one property to another. We're looking at 5 or 6 showings with our clients. We don't have time to really understand the homes that we're always going into, right? And, there's that idea of like, well, I can't sell someone a home they don't want to buy. Well, you can't sell someone a home that they don't understand is really what I think. And so I think the better they understand it, hey, it's fair game if they buy it or not. But if they understand it and then they make an educated decision that's not for them, that's fine. But for my clients, I want their homes to be understood. This home needed to be explained. So that video, it's about 5.5 minutes long. Remax International actually went and sort of taught it across Canada. Wow. I'm not in the video. It's just me interviewing the man. And he rambled for about an hour. Like when I say ramble, I mean, we didn't have the story we edited and told. We had bits and pieces of it. And there's parts where he kind of smiles and kind of chuckles. It's because he's feeling a little bit foolish being on camera. But when we actually reassembled the quotes to try to have a story arc for the tour of this home, and he describes why the hardwood is not old and weird. The hardwood is from an aircraft hangar where they used to make the like the Lancaster bombers in World War II, and he salvaged it. The motifs on the stairwell are from an old turn of the century Royal Bank in Canada, from the tellers, and they turned that into a staircase. So you're walking past this virtual heritage home. You're walking through history, and if you can appreciate, you'll see the value in the home. And void of that story, you walk through and it looks kitschy and it's cool, but it's really precise. It has to be exactly for you. But once you hear the story, you just step back and you're like, I'm somewhere special. And in the video, it's got a great crescendo, a great story arc. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. And what really kind of blew me away, it was the first time I really realized that we all sell ourselves way short on what we are capable of, like way short. I can't learn how to edit. I can't learn how to be on camera. There's just some things I'm just not good at. And it's like, I had all those things, except I had a mortgage, a single income earner, and I just needed to change careers. So I had this desire that was greater than my fears. So I just went for it. And when I finished that video that I'd shot and edited and put together, and like all the little pieces that I went through it, it's still to this day the most meaningful thing, because when he saw the video, he called me up and said, Brad, because he was a lifelong builder, he called me up and said, Brad, when I pass away, I want this played at my funeral.
Whoa.
And so for me, it was like, wait a second. He never doubted. Like, if I had to go to him and ask him and say, hey, listen, based on the feedback, what's going on in the market, we might have to adjust the price. Do you think he's going to say, what have you done for me, Brad? Like, did you follow up with that last lead? What about open houses? Like, I think we should wait a little bit longer. It's like, I never have to have that question. Like, I never get pushback if we end up having to ask for an adjustment, because people they've already get that what they're getting with us has so much extra value to them. And it really does. It genuinely does. And I would say, when we're able to bring an offer on one of our own listings, that offer, especially on a $2.5–3 million home, it's coming in $200,000–$300,000 higher than what another agent would have brought us. And we're seeing that, it didn't just happen once, it's happened 3 times this year, where we've double-ended $3 million properties. And the last one was multiple offers. And 2 minutes before we got on here, I got a DocuSign waiver on deal number 3. So I'm like, great, conditions removed, right?
That's
but
amazing.
That's the thing, though. It's like you talked earlier, Katie, about that, and I sort of were rambling. This is the one thing I'll say, the millionth thing I'll say. But just in regards to that idea of like, how did you know it was going to work, and why did you keep going? Because it didn't. Like in the beginning, it was the way it worked was that friends started saying, like, friends of friends would say, hey, I saw that video you put up of so-and-so's house. Like, hey, did that one sell? Yeah, my sister's actually thinking of selling. And so that's where I started to see, like, oh, okay, this is way cooler than me calling people who don't want to be called, or me forcing people to register on my website who don't want to register. I thought, okay, this is better. And so I always describe it, I have described it in the past, as like climbing a mountain. You hike to a mountaintop. The first 4 hours of a 6-hour hike, you're in the trees. And when you're in the trees, you have no context. You don't know how far you've come. You just know it's hard. And every time you get around another corner and you switch back and up and down the mountain, it's just more trees. And you think, like, I'm not getting anywhere. I don't know. But if you don't push through the tree line, you never get the vantage point to look down and see just how far you've came. And every time I've ever hiked, it feels ridiculous. There's this point where it feels like, oh my God, like we gotta be getting through the trees. And then you're not there yet. And then you're like, no, maybe a little bit. No, it's still not yet. And And then finally, when you break through and you look down, you're like, oh my God, we've came a long ways. And that's the only way I can describe it. It's like, you just have got to push through it and believe that this thing works.
That's great advice. I love that. And I guess that leads into kind of the next question is, Brad, what advice would you give to someone 5 years into the industry, even 10 years into the industry? And so, a lot of that kind of getting through, that's 70% of that hike. It has a lot to do with like perseverance and grit. Apart from that, like what someone who's listening to this, watching this is like, yes, everything Brad is saying, I know I got to do it, but I'm stuck. I'm scared. I'm afraid of it. What advice would you give someone 5 years, 10 years into this industry? It could be video. It could be something else about, their life, not necessarily business. Look, what would that be?
I would say, like, Gary Vee said it like 7 years ago that we're media companies. Like, we're all media companies now. And I heard that for so long, and I just never really realized how important that was. So, and another thing that Ryan Serhant says is that no one's going to say it for you. Like, no one cares. Like, no one really cares, right? We all care about ourselves and our families, and we love our friends. We want them to do well, but like, no one cares as much as you do. Like, no one's as motivated as you to build that for. So I'd say if you're 5 years in the industry and you're selling, 50 homes a year, it probably doesn't make sense for you to start, learning how to shoot a camera and learning the settings and how to edit and all that stuff. But it might mean that if you want to keep selling 50 homes, or you want to get to 100 homes 3-4 years from now, it might mean that you're going to have to really take a second look at video and invest into maybe a on-staff videographer. If you're selling 20 to 40 homes in a year, what you might need is a great subcontractor that you can bring in. Maybe someone you can even put on retainer that you give 2 days of your month to, and they give you 4 videos a week for it, or 4 videos a month for you. That might be it. But if you're selling under 20 or 25 homes a year, you're not a full-time agent. And if you're a full-time agent and you're selling 20 or 25 homes a year, you're like spending all your time in the wrong spots, because you're building a business the most typical old school way, the way they built businesses in the 90s, and it works, and a lot of people crush at those, but you're just going to be in competition with everyone else. And they will never get to that point, or rarely will you get to that point where people just want to work with you because it's you. And so you don't get pushback if people are as invested in your personal brand as you are. If people are excited, but they don't push back on when you ask for a price adjustment. They don't push back when your commission is a little bit higher than maybe some of the other agents in town. And what you get, and this is the most ridiculous part of it, is you get people that want, like, there are so many people in the peripheral of the real estate industry that have to work with us realtors, like builders and architects and high net worth individuals and lenders and banks and all this stuff, that don't like us. They might say they like us, but they are just constantly like, guys, you make so much, you do so little. Like, yeah. And those people, some of those people have chips on their shoulders, and they've worked with different quote unquote, like the big names in their market. What's amazing is when you get a few of those guys and you deliver for them, how loud their megaphones are.
Wow.
You get a few fans like that are connected, and it goes everywhere. And that is the power of having, like, we've got now the power of just like, someone will say, man, you just got to check out Brad's YouTube channel. They'll go there. And that should have been my first listing presentation, but instead, they're calling up and saying, let's meet up. We want you to list our place. And that's the power of having a portfolio, like a portfolio that you can go back and look back on. We've got now 101 videos, and we just hit past 1 million views last week. Those are powerful social proof, right? Like we're all looking for that. If I'm looking for a video on YouTube on how to do something, I sort by views. My assumption is, that's it. So,
wow, that's crazy. Amazing. This is all tremendous. It's all very fitting for the current time, the current climates that we're in now. Would you say the agent who is still opposed, like vehemently opposed, I'm not doing video, do you think they're going to be obsolete in the next 10 years? It's a big.
You know what? There's a subsection of the market that just still doesn't really care about social media, never goes on, all of that. There's still people like bus benches obviously still work, postcards work, all those things work, right? But those are all out of my control. I don't know what the rates are going to change. I don't know if they're going to change the Facebook advertising, rules. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. So I just try to work within my own personal, like the things that I can control. And so what I recommend to the agents that are totally against doing video is then like figure out what your value is, because I think 30 to 40% of agents are at risk of losing their licenses or being out of the business. Like I think there's going to be a consolidation here. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be Zillow. It doesn't necessarily have to be the elimination of the agent. But listen, when I have a YouTube channel of 40,000 subscribers in the next 2 years, that's about the entire available market of people looking for homes in Calgary. That's going to be a powerful secondary MLS, right? And like, that's the goal, is to have another resource for people to go and check out. So that's the power of these small incremental steps, in the one direction. That's the power of being consistent. I would have never, like, I have the benefit of hindsight. I just wanted to sell the home when I first did the video, but that's it.
That's awesome. Katie?
All right, Brad, we've got a pretty hard hitting question that I want to wrap things up with. It's something that we do ask a lot of people that come on to Real Advice. And that is, if it were your last meal on earth, what would you be eating?
Are you serious? Yeah.
This stumps.
It's not my competition. It's not my competition for breakfast, that's for sure. I don't know. What did Tim Macy say? Have you not had him on yet? I'm just kidding.
Who?
Tim Macy. What did he say? That's a little dig at Tim.
Yeah.
You know what?
He hasn't been on, though, Brad.
Almost every day for lunch, I don't know, at least 4 days a week, I get Skip the Dishes, which is like Uber Eats. Yeah. And I get the same meal every time. I get a Southwest chicken salad every time. That
would be your last meal?
I think so. I think it'd be good.
So what's actually really funny is the episode that aired last week, which now, when yours airs, this will be further on, but Jason Pantana, he's a super specific guy, right? So if you ask him a question, he's going to always ask qualifying questions after you ask it, right? So I'm like, okay, what would be your last meal? He's like, well, what season is it? And I'm like, okay, man, it could be summertime. He's like, well, it's different if it's summer than winter, because if it's winter, then I would do this. If it's summer, then I do this.
Nice.
And I laughed and I was like, oh, I was worried you were going to say a salad. And he's like, God, no, I would never say salad as my last meal. So it's funny. We now have a salad as a last meal on Real Advice Podcast.
I don't know. Like that's it. That's it. Salad and then probably a pound of cheesecake, but that's about it. It's not based on health. It's based on, like, guys, when you get older, your digestive system doesn't work as good as it used to. Like, it's just, I'm an old man now. Okay.
Well, we still love you, Brad. We still love you. Brad, thank you so much for taking the time today to talk a little bit about video and how it's been so instrumental in your business. It's been an absolute honor to share some time with you. Always a good time. Need to upgrade my background and lighting now that you've been on the episode. I should have done it beforehand. We may not release this as a video. We may just do audio so people can't see it.
Good. It's good. Honestly, Katie and Steve, I think the world of you both. Honestly, it's an honor to be on. You guys have really smart people on here, and you're both extremely whip smart. And so I come on, I ramble, I get it. But honestly, it's just something I'm super passionate about. And I just am so fortunate now to have a chance to, like, sit down with people like yourselves and hopefully someone out there does it. I've had a few great agents go and make some changes over this last year. It's awesome. And I think it's available for everyone.
Yeah. Your passion really shows. So, you know, we'll always be open to your
Make sure you DM Brad when he transforms your business after watching or listening to this podcast. But thanks again, Brad, for all of your wonderful nuggets. You're the real deal, and it was just such a blast having you on. So thank you again, kind sir.
See you guys.